there's a lot about weight loss, and you talk about yo-yo dieting, and I don't know one woman who has not had this relationship with the bathroom scale. And where does that come from? When you go to the doctor's office, they don't have a body composition scale. It's a weight scale. You could have gained 10 pounds of muscle and lost 10 pounds of fat, and they say that you're the same. And that's just one example of what it's missing. So first, I want to get into, why do you think so many people have struggled with exactly what you've struggled with? That same number of pounds, up and down, and then it gets harder and harder to lose as you get older, and harder to keep off when you're down. And it's just this vicious cycle, and we think we're trapped. And then you get into menopause and hormonal changes, which make things even harder. So, what is it? Why are we stuck in these cycles?
Yeah, it's not any one thing, right? Wouldn't it be easier if? Um, but it's really a whole combination of things. And I call them the 5 fat factors. So we're going to test my memory if I can remember them all, right? But fundamentally, number 1 is the food choices, right? It's all of the diets that we've been fed, no pun intended, right? We
Mhm.
cut out whole food groups, we dramatically cut calories. We eat like I did everything low sugar, low fat, no fat, right? All of those things. And we can dig into this further, but essentially, the approaches that we have been taught for how to approach nutrition fundamentally malfunction our metabolism. They slow the metabolism, they create dysregulation of hormones. So, the same way there are hormones that drive our reproduction, insulin we know is a hormone, right? There are hormones that tell us when we're hungry and when we're satisfied. And
Mhm.
when we take these old approaches, we become more um, resistant to the hormones that tell us when we're hungry and satisfied. When the number on the scale is going down, what we're actually losing is water, muscle, and bone. To your point, the scale isn't measuring body composition.
Yeah.
And so it actually leaves us in this place of impaired metabolic function every time we go through that gaining and losing. And so even if we gain the weight back and end up at the same number on the scale, by body composition, we can be fatter at that same number.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is this nutrition piece. Um, the second piece is also what we call sort of garbage in, garbage out, right? Our food supply is not what it once was.
Mm-mm.
It is not, and we're hearing a lot in the news about, right? We see the documentaries that tell us to go plant based. We see or hear about seed oils and the red dye and all of these things. And the truth is, you're 100% right. None of those things are fundamentally biologically human, but it's not also any one of those things. It is all of these things in combination,
Mhm.
right? It is also the quality of our food supply. So even our fresh fruits and vegetables don't have the same nutrients as the fruits and vegetables that our parents ate or our grandparents ate. And, even seed oils. Seed oils have been around for a long time, but now they are ultra processed and we're having more of them. So it's this whole combination of things that have created the conundrum that we now have, where people, even following the same approach that maybe, you know, worked before or, worked for other generations, now isn't, the formula for health. Um, the third is sedentary lifestyle, right? I mean, I feel like now we've all heard sitting is the new smoking,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So it's because it's the thing that we're doing that we don't realize is slowly killing us. But I always like to remind everybody, right? So sitting all day is not human. Well, neither is sitting all day and going berserk for an hour. So, right? We really want to build muscle, right? Muscle dictates metabolism. So we want to build muscle. And what that looks like, how we do that, certainly changes at different points in our lives. And even, cardio, all the cardio queens out there, like I'm with you. We've been told a million times, right? Cardio is what we're supposed to do. And the truth is, it's not. Cardio, the objective of cardio is to use our heart as a muscle.
Mhm.
Our heart is a very important muscle. We certainly want to use it as such. But when it comes to improving health, improving metabolism, we really need that resistance training with a little bit of cardio. And you can get your heart pumping like a muscle, even without spending, hours on a treadmill or an elliptical or things like that.
Yeah.
Um, the fourth one is stress. And I think it comes as no surprise, right? Our modern lives are just beyond stressful. And the interesting piece to me is, we think about our biological, the physiological stress response is exactly the same as it was, eons ago when we were hunters and gatherers, right? And this stress response was designed to save our lives. It was designed to be like 20 minutes, like a bell curve, right? We have this increase in cortisol, we fight, flight, right? Run from the saber-toothed tiger, hide, we watch it pass us, we start to calm down.
Right.
And when we're in that stress response, any bodily function that is not critical to survival of the next 10 minutes turns off. Because what does our metabolism matter? What does growing hair and nails matter? What does your immune system matter? What does your reproductive system matter if you don't survive the next 10 minutes?
Mhm.
Right? So it's interesting that this stress response that was physiologically evolved to save our lives is now contributing to our demise. And I know I say it's a little dramatic, in that way, but the truth is, we in our modern lives have that same response to our cell phone buzzing, to checking
Mhm.
our email, to
Mhm.
a conversation with our significant other or a conversation at work or whatever it is. And so we're constantly getting the initiation of that stress response. We're never coming down the other side. We're not getting through it to the point where, we have that resolution and these systems turn back on. So we're constantly being hit by these triggers that turn off all of these other symptoms or systems, sorry, which creates symptoms. So that's number 4. And number 5 is sleep. I call sleep the ultimate biohack.
Mhm.
Like I know you do a lot with supplements. I do a lot in my practice with supplementation as well. I am all about a biohack, but the truth is, a lot of what we're trying to do, we wouldn't need as much effort or money into these other things if we could just I just hit the mic, sorry. If we
Mhm.
could just sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep is detoxification, as you were talking about before. Sleep is recovery. Sleep is memory. Sleep is cognitive health. Sleep is our metabolism. Sleep is our immune system. Sleep is so critical.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's important for everyone to recognize too, like, I think by definition, a biohack is like a 10% increase in health. Well, if you're at 90 something percent, like more power to you. Like, let's do the biohack, right? But if you're the average person, right, less than 10% of the population is metabolically well. So if we're in that category, a 10% improvement is not moving the needle enough. What we really need are the seemingly mundane things that are actually the massive swings.
Yeah, the big movers are the boring ones that no one wants to hear about. Everyone wants that magic pill. Just give me the magic pill. And I'm going to touch on the things in reverse order. Hopefully I remember number 2 and 1. But sleep, I tell people all the time, don't spend money on supplements or diet if you're not sleeping. That's the cornerstone. That's why I wear my Aura ring and I see what affects it. What affects this Aura ring is, do I go on that walk after dinner to calm my nervous system and calm my cortisol and my stress, which goes into number 4 that you were talking about. It's when your lymphatic can like reset your brain and your body resets. But the other thing is, it goes into that stress too, because if you're not sleeping, your cortisol is going to stay up, your hunger hormones are going to be up. So you might even get up in the middle of the night and eat food, and your metabolism is shut down, but you definitely are going to eat more food the next day because it increases your appetite. And then when we're stressed, if you're eating the same diet of 1,000 calories, but you're stressed, your body's taking those and saying, I'm only getting 1,000 calories. I'm in survival mode. I'm going to shut down the metabolism. I'm not just shutting down the metabolism, but I'm actually going to increase the propensity for my fat cells to get bigger and to protect those expensive organs so the tiger doesn't get to my kidneys and my liver. They can have my limb, my arms and my legs, but not my expensive organs. And that's where you get belly fat. So, and then the nutrition and the supply of food. Our food supply has been hijacked. I don't care if you're eating organic. There was a study on protein powders and with high lead and high heavy metals in them. The ones that had the most was the organic chocolate. So here
Interesting.
you are thinking you are the person trying to do the right thing, eating the organic whey protein shake, and you're getting more heavy metals than the other person. And then you mentioned seed oils, and I love this topic. It has been blown way out of proportion. Seed oils aren't inherently bad. With our ancestors, they were eating seed oils, but it's the ratio. It's the fact that 70% of our modern day diet is standard American, ultra processed foods that are exceedingly high in seed oils, have no protein, no fiber, full of emulsifiers, full of additives, full of artificial sweeteners that don't even have calories, but they're causing fat gain. So that is why you're having a hard time losing those same 10 pounds that you did 10 years ago. But what I also want to get into, and I'm forgetting number one. I forgot one. Which one did I forget?
Our nutrition choices are number 1, all
Oh,
the diets and things that we tried, yeah.
yeah. So you're looking at calories. Calories are not all equal. Yes, calories matter, but when you eat protein, those calories have a hard time getting stored as fat. They're going to go build the hair, the eyebrows, the eyes, the tissues, the nails, all the things. When you eat the bun from the McDonald's hamburger, that's a whole different story. And there's the thermic effect of different categories of food, and the triggering of protein triggers the brain saying, I'm full, I don't need to eat more. When you eat the sugar and the carbs, the wrong carbs, it will tell your brain, I want more. That's why you can not binge on a ribeye steak, but then you have a bite of Ben and Jerry's, you can finish the carton, right? So all of these things you're right, it's not just one thing, it's this compounding. And then all of the toxins that you mentioned, it's not just the one thing. They're stacking up they're stacking up and your body says, I can't do this anymore. And now you've made it way too hard for me to have a healthy metabolism. So you're eating a ton of food, but you have no energy, and the food is not converting to energy, and we get stuck, right? So we go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, there's a lot of pieces to it in terms of why we end up storing the foods that we're eating as fat, even when we're eating those quality nutrition choices, even when we're having these experiences and sort of, because I've been there, right? Like, we are the people who are like, I am doing all the things. Like, one would expect that I would be a stick figure, right? So, what is not adding up? And, um, taking a step back, I sort of explained it to people like, remember grocery let's do the grocery store checkout, right? But back when, like, there was a human who would ring everything up and then a human who would put things in a bag, right? So traveling back in time a little. Um, so there's this conveyor belt. You put your groceries on the conveyor belt, the cashier rings it up, it then goes down to the person bagging. When that conveyor belt is coming at a nice, even pace, the bagger can put all the frozen things together and can put the eggs on top of the canned goods, or, right, the bread even then on top of the eggs, things like that, right? So that you don't end up with a whole bunch of, smashed eggs.
Right.
Our body sort of works the same way. So when food and fuel come at a nice, even pace, right, the body produces insulin. Insulin's job is to carry all of those nutrients to our muscles and our cells to be used for fuel. Well, when that conveyor belt speeds up, and there are a lot of things that can make that conveyor belt speed up, right? Maybe we've eaten the high glycemic thing. We start our day, as many people do, with a bagel or a muffin or a croissant or a bowl of cereal, right? Our blood sugar spikes. It's like flipping a switch, speeding up that conveyor belt. The cashier starts to speed up. Our body starts to produce more insulin, right? It sends everything to the bagger. The bagger is just trying to keep up, and they throw everything into any bag and give you the bags, right? So insulin is overproduced to try to keep up with all of that fuel. Now, our
Mhm.
muscles and our cells can only take in so much fuel at a time, and then they close. But our fat cells, they're geniuses. They never close. And so all of that extra fuel and all of that extra insulin is stored as fat.
Mhm.
Fat is fuel stored to be used later. So now, in the other extreme, we undereat. By the way, let me give you a real life example. So, on the speeding up the conveyor belt thing, what does that look like? It looks like we sit down at the restaurant. If textbook was a thing, we order textbook perfect steamed fish and vegetables. And then they deliver the bread basket. And we eat the bread, and it flips the switch on the conveyor belt. And now your steamed fish and vegetables is stored as fat because the bread set the pace of that conveyor belt. In the other extreme, where maybe we don't eat all day, right? We are stressed, or we forget to eat, or we've been told to fast, or whatever it is, right? We don't eat all day. Or maybe we don't even realize we're hungry till we sit down and then we see the food and we're like, oh, I was really hungry, right? That is like putting one thing on that conveyor belt. What happens at the grocery store checkout? Okay, so the conveyor belt moves to bring that item to the cashier. So we get a little bit of insulin, right? Carry that fuel to the bagger, but the bagger puts it in a bag and is waiting for the next item. They're not handing it to you. You're
Right.
not going on your way. They're waiting for the next thing. And the conveyor belt is stopped. So when we don't eat, when we eat too little because we've been told to eat less and move more, right? It sends signals to the body that it is in starvation mode, that there is not a refrigerator full of food that we're just
Mhm.
choosing not to eat, that in fact, the body has to do what it needs to do to survive, because the body's job above all is
Right.
survival. So what ends up happening is that that food and fuel is stored as fat in order to survive. Well, now we don't eat all day. We order that same fish and vegetables. Maybe we don't even start with the bread basket, but our body is going to hold on to it as fat because it thinks it's a time of famine. So the objective is to eat quality nutrition. We can talk about what that looks like, and regularly enough to keep our blood sugar balanced, where we're never living in these extremes of our blood sugar, whether it's too high or too low. And what I would say, it's science, not magic, but the couple things that feel like magic. Number one is that when we are eating this way, keeping our blood sugar balanced, we're never adding to those fat stores. And then the other thing that happens is that when we're consistent, the body will say, wait a minute, I don't need the fat stores I've been holding on to. And it will release the fat that it's been holding on to as a protective mechanism. And the body is equipped to handle the occasional spike. So we do and can enjoy the ice cream and have it not affect us the same way that it might right now.
Right.
So it's really about understanding how to eat, almost sometimes more than what to eat, in order to keep our blood sugar balanced.
Yeah, and it's also, we talked about stress. What about the stressor of saying, I need to eat less? And so mentally, I'm telling my body, I need to eat less. What is your mind going to do with that information? It's going to say, oh, she's going to eat less. I'm going to slow down my metabolism. I'm going to slow down my thyroid. And people say, well, why my thyroid, my metabolism is slowed down? I used to be able to do this diet and I would lose the weight, and now it doesn't work for me anymore. It's because your body's smart. It recognizes the patterns that you're doing. And the other stressors that people don't realize as we've come out of the pandemic and out of flu season is if you're fighting a virus, that's a stressor. So your immune system is going to say, hey, wait a second, we've got a threat here. We're going to take care of it. We're going to shut down other mechanisms in the body and slow down the metabolism because we've got to fight this virus. And that stressor is away from the dieting, it's away from the financial stressors or the kids stress or what have you. And then also the stressor of poor quality food. You know, you're eating food, it has no nutrition, and the body says, I'm kind of stressed because she's not giving me what I need. I need more nutrition.